Toastmasters, May 19th is a big day for me. It's the day of the Fast 10 premiere in the United States. It will be the very last movie of the Fast and Furious franchise, and I am simultaneously devastated and beyond excited about its release. And for you to understand why I'm so hyped to see what I know will be an absolutely awful movie, I need to fill you in on some history. It was the summer of 2001. I was 16, and I was the lone girl in my crew of friends. Jimmy, Sean, and Elliot were all obsessed with cars, but not in a normal 16-year-old, I just got my license kind of way. In a, can we please get out of the Hot Wheels section of Target kind of way. I can't believe you're gonna spend money on this little toy car and keep it in a box in your room. What's wrong with you? Kind of way. They loved cars. One night we decided to escape the heat and go to the movies, and the show was The Fast and Furious. It promised to be terrible, but there was no way I could convince this crew to see anything else. We just had to go along for the ride. And I was right, it was awful. The plot was bad, the acting was mediocre. Vin Diesel's not a good actor, guys. He's just not. The stunts were implausible. You got people hooking on to freight trucks. It was bad, but they loved it. I told them that they were idiots, and life carried on. 2 years later, the sequel came out, and I was roped into seeing that under very similar circumstances. This one was even worse. The only redeeming quality was that the soundtrack was moderately better. It had some Latin flair because it took place in Miami. But it was no good. My friends loved it. I hated it. They're idiots. We moved on. By the time the third movie, Tokyo Drift, came out in 2006, going to these things was somewhat of a tradition. It was the summer before I moved away to attend Cal, and this felt like a last best chance to give my friends grief about their terrible taste in movies. Wow, it was a stinker. The storyline didn't even link to the first two movies at all. The only through line was it was a movie about racing cars in the street. Even the guys conceded that it was a weak connection. When Fast and Furious, yes, the name of the fourth movie is the same as the name of the first movie without the article "the" in it. It came out in 2009. I happened to be visiting home, and for nostalgic reasons, Jimmy, Sean, and I just had to see it together. I was home, the movie was out, we went. Vin Diesel and the rest of the original cast were back, and I was surprised because somehow this time it was fun. I enjoyed the movie more than any of the others, and it felt like good times with old friends, and having given up any desire for the movie to be anything more than that, somehow opened up the possibility for me to appreciate just how ridiculous they are. I could revel in how bad it was. It was bad. And ever since, going to these movies has been one of my favorite things and truly a guilty pleasure of mine. It's this odd mix of nostalgia and the knowledge that in every new Fast and Furious movie they make, the bad dialogue will get even worse, and the impossible storylines will get even more ridiculous. It makes these movies go from bad back around full circle to amazing. And every movie they rope in a new Hollywood big shot or two to join the cast. If you look at the IMDb cast list of these films, it's incredible. How they got Oscar winner Charlize Theron to agree to do these, I have no idea. So I went to see Fast 5 of my own accord when it came out in 2011. It was and still is my personal favorite. It has a great soundtrack, a larger than life cast. There's this scene in the middle where The Rock and Vin Diesel are beating the tar out of each other in this garage for about 5 minutes. and they're both chased off the scene by a mutual enemy, and they're totally fine when this happens. Never mind that they were just literally throwing each other through walls. They run off without a scratch on them and everyone's okay. See, they're so bad that they're laughable, and it makes them fun if you go in with that mindset. So I haven't missed a Fast and Furious movie in theaters up until Fast 9. The COVID pandemic made me feel uneasy about movie theaters. And I intend to rewatch all the way through before I see Fast 10 with my one and only friend who appreciates how wonderfully awful these movies are. So mark your calendars. If you want to go see a truly atrocious but fabulous film, Fast 10 promises to be exactly that. And if you go in expecting it to be awful, you'll be tremendously gratified.